Welcome back to Accrued Interest. Today, March 20th, 2025, I want to debate with you something that I've been thinking about for a long time that I want to get your feedback on. I believe that AI companies are underestimating how difficult it will be for them to sell ads. But first, a brief disclaimer. Everything said on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes, as I am not a registered investment advisor. So I've been thinking about AI and just advertising in general. And while my background is more in old school advertising, I've done corporate finance and corporate strategy roles for companies that have been in the business of television advertising, both broadcast and cable, radio, digital music, as well as billboards. Something that I remember is that selling advertising is very hard. Let me say that again. Selling ads is very hard. I think many investors think just because your product or service has audience, just because it has views or eyeballs or clicks, that all of a sudden that's going to become a license to print money. Let me tell you from experience, that is not how this game works. That's not how it's ever worked. It's never been enough just to have a product that people use or to have a show that people watch. It is actually a skill, a very important skill for organization to be able to build up and run a competent and efficient sales and marketing operation. A theory that I have is that AI companies are going to need to generate substantial ad revenue to justify their current valuations. Subscriptions is not going to cut it. We've been hearing how ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and other AI-powered search engines has been taking away search activity from Google. But I would argue that winning share of advertising budgets will be harder for these companies than just taking share in search queries. I believe Google and Meta's advertising models are clearly unappreciated competitive advantages that these AI companies will not be able to replicate too easily. I've been pondering these questions for a couple months now, but what really brought it to my attention was this morning, Ben Thompson had an interesting interview he did with the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman. For those of you watching on YouTube or consuming this in whatever manner you are, I'm going to put links to all the different articles that I reference in the description for you to go back later. Ben Thompson asked Sam Altman what were his thoughts on whether OpenAI was going to add advertising and what kind to their services. Suffice to say, Sam Altman didn't seem too concerned about advertising. He said, quote, "Currently, I am more excited to figure out how we can charge people a lot of money for a really great automated software engineer or other kind of agent than I am making some number of dimes with an advertising-based model." Sam is arguing that selling subscriptions is a better way for them to monetize their product. He also mentions later on in the interview that he might be open to some sort of affiliate advertising business model. What that basically means is he suggests there might be a way for companies to track whether or not you purchased a product or a service from a recommendation that OpenAI gave in their AI model. Ben Thompson was really taken aback by this. He goes on to say later in the interview that subscriptions are great for very committed, highly engaged users who use a company's services all the time. But the beauty of the traditional advertising model is that it allows you to take money not just from your customers who might be turned off that you're taking more and more money from them each month, but advertising lets you tap into a large network of other businesses that want to reach your audience. Surely, Sam Altman is a very smart guy, and he must know that his investors are going to want to see advertising as part of OpenAI's future. The reason why OpenAI has been the talk of all the tech and financial publications has been its high valuation. To refresh your memory, back in October of 2024, OpenAI closed their last funding round at a valuation of $157 billion. The reason why the valuation was so high is because everyone and their mother expects and knows that OpenAI is well equipped to finally go after Google as well as Meta and take away some of their lucrative search revenue. The vast majority of the revenue base of both of these companies comes from traditional advertising. Google in their financials does not give a precise number for their subscriptions. They lump their subscriptions in a revenue segment called subscriptions, platforms, and devices. Platforms in this case refers to the Google Play Store, where you can download apps for Android devices. Devices refers to phones and tablets. So lumping all that together probably overstates subscription revenue a bit. But to be generous, subscription revenue is somewhere less than 12% of Google's total revenue. Meta is looking to grow subscriptions, but currently it is a de minimis amount of their revenue base. The company does not break it out in their financials. So I'm going to assume that it's probably less than 5%. Hopes are high for OpenAI as well as other AI upstarts. There's talks that OpenAI might be looking at a valuation of $340 billion. That number only comes if investors think that you're about to be a major player in the advertising market. Taking a step back, let's talk about how advertising efforts have been going at some of the other AI companies. I was reading back in November in Digiday, I'll put the link in the show notes, that Perplexity had just launched an advertising product, but there was some skepticism from the advertising community. Before we go any further, I just want to go over a couple acronyms that are used when we talk about advertising. The first is CPC, cost per click. Under this model, the advertiser pays only when you click on their ad. This model, CPC, is more useful for performance advertising when you have direct marketers or other companies that want to see a tangible return on ad spend to see whether or not their advertising is leading directly to sales. Another way of charging for online ads is through CPM. The M stands for Latin, but it basically means cost per 1,000. The advertiser pays for every 1,000 impressions, which for the sake of this talk, we're going to say impressions are sort of like views. The goal is not necessarily to drive exact sales. The goal here is to build brand awareness. You typically see a CPM type of advertising model more in television, for example. In the Digiday article about Perplexity, some of the marketers said they were surprised that Perplexity was not selling ads in the way that search ads had been sold on Google. Perplexity ads were not sold on CPCs, like performance marketing. They were being sold on CPMs. From the article, I'm going to quote, "When we read between the lines, it means that people will likely not click out of their experience versus traditional search," said this search specialist. A CPM model lends itself to brand advertisers and sponsorship, which is not the method to which search is bought today. Search advertisers expect a click-based offering where they can model performance, but that is not available today. End quote. This right here is going to slow down the adoption that Perplexity and OpenAI and others are trying to accelerate. I noticed on the Twitter feed for the website The Morning Brew, one of their reporters had said at a recent industry event, this was on March 17th, that Perplexity's head of advertising disclosed that the company had less than a dozen advertisers since launching in November. Wow, less than a dozen. Since November, and we're sitting here in March. This was a lot less interest than I would have guessed. Doing further research, I went to the website Ad Exchanger, and I'm going to quote a segment from a recent article from March 18th. The article is entitled, "A Peek Behind the Curtain at Perplexity's Nascent but Growing Ads Business." Quote, "Perplexity gets a lot of inbound interest from CMOs, that means chief marketing officers, of large brands looking to shift their budgets to new channels. But they often find it hard to shake the traditional mindset. They want to take what they do, maybe on traditional search platforms, and dump it into Perplexity with keywords and block lists," Patel said. But it doesn't work this way. For instance, rather than a cost per click model, which is how most search advertising is priced, Perplexity charges on a CPM basis because it's more focused on driving awareness than sales, at least for now. End quote. Again, I understand where Perplexity and other companies are coming from, but it's not just about what you, the company, wants. You have to acquiesce and play by the terms of the customers who are actually out there buying the ads. Having a cool chat bot or a cool app simply is not enough. Not to pick on Perplexity, but here's a funny story I wanted to share. From Ad Tech Radar, make sure to give them a subscribe. They're really good. They have really great content. They did a funny experiment where they used Perplexity to try to show them where they could see movies in the area nearby where they lived. And they found that Perplexity was still showing ads for the movie Venom: The Last Dance months after it already left theaters. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a screenshot, which, by the way, I tried this same search myself and got the exact same answer. You can see at the bottom of the Perplexity AI search result that there's a sponsored link and it's circled in red, where it says, "Where can I catch the new movie Venom: The Last Dance?" This podcast is being recorded on March 20th. Venom Day in movie theaters was on December 29th of 2024. So the AI companies have a long ways to go to tailor their offering so it can actually be attractive to the people who are paying for ads, and not just your friends, your family, or your coworkers who are downloading the cool app of the week trying to get a slightly better or more edgy search answer. In summary, AI companies, to be what they want to be, need to stop underestimating the ad sales function. These companies are going to need to generate ad revenue if they want to keep justifying their current valuations and presumably raise those valuations higher and higher in the future. Winning share of the ad budgets is going to be more difficult than just getting users to try your product. And lastly, all of these difficulties show that the moat behind Google and Meta is real, and it's not something that the AI companies are going to be able to crack overnight. As always, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have some thoughts, give me your feedback. Do you think AI companies are underestimating the ad sales function? Or do I have it all off and I'm missing something? Feel free to comment in the channel or respond to me on Twitter. Have a great day.